So, is love not good enough to be in a relationship?
I know what I don't want more than what I want.
People with no big yoga background or with big yoga practices, just in 7 minutes when they do Miracle of Mind, how is that for you?
So soon he arrived at this confusion. If I'm not the body, if I'm not the mind, then who am I?
If you look back, it's funny that we only recognized yoga when the West gave it a label, even though our grandmothers were living it every single day.
Slowly I started losing the respect for most of the rituals. It all felt like
Superstitious or something.
superstition and just something that you are doing because somebody was doing it before you.
Namaskaram. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're most welcome. I'll just talk a little bit about you, just let people know who you are. So, today's guest has one of the most fascinating, roller coaster worthy, deeply human stories I have come across. Imagine running a successful coaching institute, teaching corporate law, and then one YouTube video, one night of Mahashivratri, and poof, life as a whole somersault. From Dehradun to inner engineering to shaving a head in Goa, yes, we are definitely talking about that. Darshini Thapa is here with us. She is a dedicated Hatha Yoga teacher whose journey has touched thousands and in the process completely reshaped who she is. Welcome, Darshini Akka.
Thank you so much, Pooja. I was just listening to the introduction.
This is nothing. So I'm so glad you are here and I have so many questions for you actually. So to start with, you've said something very beautiful actually when you shared few things about yourself. You've said that you have never thought of walking this path. It has happened to me by accident. So before yoga entered your scene, what was happening? You were running a coaching institute, teaching corporate law, very structured, very logical, very proper life. So how was life like back then?
Life was going really perfect for me at that moment. That's how I stumbled upon a few videos on YouTube and many things. I was turning 30 years old that year. According to my understanding of life, according to my perception at that time, I felt that everything is going very smooth. Whatever I wanted in my life, it's happening, it's going on. The kind of people I want are there. The relationships I want are there. So maybe it's time to do something more for myself. So I started looking for something, on YouTube. I came across a video where I found that someone was talking about sattvic food. If you have such kind of food, then there will be natural upsurge of energy in your body or in your system that you have never experienced. So that thing really hit me. I felt that, okay, yes, I need this. Also, like I never had, I have been a very submissive and docile person for my life. So I never experienced my full expression, just going out full. That I never experienced. Then I saw one video of Sadhguru where he was talking about Mahashivratri. And there also he was speaking very logically and scientifically that, okay, it's such a night. If you keep your spine erect, then there will be natural upsurge of energy. So now that I'm saying those things, I feel that I was going after that natural upsurge of energy. That's what kept me looking, in this direction. So everything else was just going how my understanding of life was, like how society finds it perfect. Like you have a good education, then you have a good job, then you find someone, you get married. So just like that, step one after another, which was making me feel that, okay, I'm going in the right path. I'm doing everything the right way. He suggested that, this is such sadhana that you can do. It was not asking for any payment, any money. So I feel that, okay, whatever this man is talking, it's, no harm in doing it because anyway, it doesn't feel like he's, doing this for money. Because he's anyway not asking for any payment. So I said that, okay, let's register for that. So I did that for 3 days. That time, 3 days itself was a big thing for me. Yeah. So that happened. I started seeing the notification from that page. So after a few months, then it came up that inner engineering is happening in Dehradun. And again, what was mentioned for inner engineering was very scientific. Inner well-being, joy, and again, something about energy was mentioned there. So I felt that, okay, it's happening in my city. It's a 7 days program, only 3,000 rupees. Already I had done like Mahashivratri sadhana. So I felt that it's, it's scientific, it's logical. So what can go wrong? So that's how I just came to this, never knowing that what it will just change me completely.
Right. Yes. So you were saying that it was a sudden decision you took right after one day of in engineering.
Yeah, so now that I look back, maybe I can have a better insight about it. The reason that I was in that relationship or I wanted, someone in my life was because I just wanted someone in my life, for emotional security, for physical security. And I was of the mindset that there has to be someone. It was out of option to live alone. It was definitely on my mind. And I think for like most of us, it was definitely in my mind that there will be some person who I will be married to, with whom I have children. So better it's a person who is a good human being. So that was the reason I was in that relationship. The moment that the inner engineering happened to me, I was completely out of fear, no fear in me at all, no insecurity in me. When that happened, there was no reason for me to be in that relationship. Like till now, I'm stuck because, being an Indian girl, it's a setting that how you live is, for most of the things, you need your parents' permission. You tell them, you ask them before you do things. And suddenly I felt that, okay, this will continue. And the things I wanted to see now without any conditioning in my mind, I will lose the opportunity. And somehow it didn't fit, in my understanding to carry on that relationship. I know it was not a very good decision in terms of the other person. Just, coming out of such a wrong relationship without any reason, without any proper reason, which is understandable.
So I'm debating a little bit. It's very interesting you say this. So do you think it might be happening and it's possible for many of us that we are in relationships we are not because of love, maybe for the other reasons, like you said, security, society conditioning, or the mindset that there should be someone, you can't be alone. So is love not good enough to be in a relationship, or you don't have to answer this if it is personal, but I'm just probing a little more to say that if you get spiritually awakened, then does that mean that other things, the relationships and all these things are not holding importance anymore in your life? Or it was a situation where you realized that it wasn't love that was holding you in this relationship? If you're comfortable answering.
Yeah, I'm comfortable. So the thing is that in my understanding, as I'm getting closer to the truth, I may not have arrived at the ultimate truth, but as I'm getting closer, I try to see things for what they are. I know what I don't want more than what I want.
Okay, yeah.
So being on this part where I'm, experience something within, or I am craving for to experience Sadhguru's presence, it just takes me there. And when I'm in that mode, I don't miss anything. But when I'm in a, like in a normal society and I'm living my life, doing things, going around here and there, I like the attention. I like how, things go around. But I would not want to involve myself. What I really want is to be there at Sadhguru's presence. That is my highest priority right now. But what you were asking, that is love not enough? I think there are people who want somebody that they want to share your life with, the daily conversations, the communication, the intimacy. Maybe they want it on a regular basis. For me, it's not the case right now that I want someone in my life to share my life with. Second thing is, I think there's always a price to pay for whatever we are doing. Okay. Yes, maybe the intimacy would feel very good for me also. The emotional security, the feeling of someone being there all the time, whatever life is giving. I think that will be very beautiful. But the liberty that I have within me in terms of nothing is affecting my decisions.
I get you.
If I am going through certain process, or if I'm just open to experience the grace that I never experienced before. If I choose, or if I had chosen, that path where I'm having a close relationship with somebody, definitely their presence will, it has certain effect on our decisions also.
Totally. And I see you speaking with a lot of clarity. And I think that to me is real freedom. true freedom. To be able to choose what you want, that's freedom. So you've also mentioned that, the session that you took in the government office where women with perfect lives still felt mentally troubled. So what did that awaken in you?
Yeah, so, Vicky, we meet so many people around us, and people have some problem going on in their lives.
Correct.
Sometimes financial, sometimes about their kids or in their relationships. But when I was in that space, these are people from central government organization. They are paid very, very good, and the facilities they have are very well organized. There are schools.
Very good lives.
Yeah, very good lives.
Perfect. Yeah.
And most of them, they had their spouses also in the same office. So it was a very beautiful thing for me to witness that, okay, and the office was located in a very scenic space.
Locations.
Wow, it's just a very chill life. So I feel that, okay, it's, the people are having very good time here.
Great lives.
Like before the session, when I met all these ladies, and I could see that they were relaxed, that they were laughing, or the way they were communicating. It was not very, very strict. It was very chill. They are these kind of people. But when the session moved on and I asked a few questions that, how many of you feel that your thoughts are noisy? You have some trouble controlling your thoughts. Everybody raised their hands. And I suddenly felt that, oh my God, even if someone is looking very relaxed, and you know that they have a good life financially and everything, but still
they're not happy there.
Yeah, for no specific reason. For no specific reason. Just few hours before, they were looking to me as very relaxed people. But the noises in your mind, they may still be noisy. The thoughts will still be noisy, even though you are having such a slow life. Then I felt that, oh my God, everywhere there is a need for, living more consciously.
Correct.
From your thoughts.
Yeah.
It's for everyone. Not only people who live in cities or who have a very busy life, but people who live in relaxed state also. For them also.
So you've also conducted sessions for MOM, Miracle of Mind, which is an app that Sadhguru has launched. And it is just a 7 minutes meditation, right? So how is it that when you're conducting that session, something like Miracle of Mind, in 7 minutes, you seeing the atmosphere change, people change, or something clicks for people. So how's that for you, that in such a short time with people with no big yoga background or with big yoga practices, just in 7 minutes when they do Miracle of Mind, which you conducted, how was that for you?
Yeah, so I'll share something here. So on 10th October, the day is World Mental Health Awareness Day. On that day, we got an opportunity to conduct a Miracle of Mind experience session for students in IIT Roorkee. So there in hydrology department, we got an opportunity to take a session. So it was a 45-minute session. We started, we asked again a few questions and we did the meditation together. After the session was over, the question answers started happening. And some student from there asked that, okay, I liked what was going on, but now I'm more confused that if I'm not the body, if I'm not the mind, then I can feel something with it, but I don't know who am I. Then I felt that, wow, so soon he arrived at this confusion that, okay, at least he's asking this question that, okay, if I'm not the body, if I'm not the mind, then who am I? That question which many of us take our lifetime to, arrive.
Get to,
To see them confused like that, it was very touching for me. And I felt, my God, what am I doing? I mean, Sadhguru has empowered us beyond our worth. I don't consider myself worthy enough to have that kind of empowerment. That you are just standing there, you are delivering the session, and you see people asking such questions which maybe I never consciously asked. And that's one more important thing. Sometimes the people who experience the session, they are expressing something or they are in a state that I never have been. Then I felt that, okay, maybe this video, I just should stop taking myself very seriously. All I have to do is just do whatever I'm meant to do. The rest is happening on its own.
Growing up in Bharat, I have grown up here in Bharat. Maybe right now I'm not there, but That's where I'm born and grown up, and so are you. So, do you feel we were all participating in yoga without knowing it? Like, do you think that yoga was already there in our homes long before we stepped into yoga studios as such? If you look back, it's funny that we only recognized yoga when the West gave it a label, even though our grandmothers were living it every single day. What do you think?
Yeah, hearing it from you, it makes me think that was it there already? So if, when we say yoga, most of us are thinking about asanas or postures. So maybe the asana or postures were not there in the way of life that my family or my ancestors were living. But the root, the inclusiveness, it was definitely there. The understanding that to keep the other person above you, to give more than you take, it was definitely already there.
Correct.
And the culture at some point was definitely like this, that someone who takes care of others was considered higher, even though that person may not be financially rich or doing very well in their career. The kind of people we used to put on pedestal before. It's very different now, but such people were those who lived a quality life, okay, in terms of how they cared for other people. Definitely this was there. But the understanding that there is a deep science, asanas and yoga, or which can really make us live life in a better way, was definitely not there. Maybe until a certain time it was there, but after it, I think it was lost. So when I was growing up, the rituals that were going on around me, slowly I started losing the respect for most of the rituals. It all felt like
Superstitious or something.
superstition and just something that you are doing because somebody was doing it before you. Because maybe my grandmother was doing, my mother is doing. I lost respect for it. When I experienced something within me through Sadhguru, then that I started looking into all these things with a very different perspective.
Correct.
And the same things like fasting or having a sattvic food. It's the same thing. It was explained because we are grown up in a very logical environment. Our parents live very simple life. Okay, we need a reason to do what we are asked to do.
Yeah.
When Sadhguru gave us the reason, there was an inner experience of something, then it was easy for me to walk that path.
Exactly. Same thing happened for me. Like you said, that I was questioning and then not getting answers and then losing respect for the, the rituals. But like now I realize, so yoga, like you said, yoga, people mostly think it's an asana or something specific you go and do. But essentially, if you see, yoga is a way of living. So now some light-hearted questions. What is your honest opinion on modern Instagram yoga? Is it yoga or gymnastics plus ring light?
Yeah, it's not really yoga, It's some asana or some posture that they are doing. But when I say this, it will look like I'm being very audacious or rude. But yoga, when we say yoga, like how just a few minutes before you were saying, yoga means a way of life. Yoga is a state, okay, where maybe asanas are those postures which help you to come to that state or to be in a certain way. So yoga means that. Nowadays, when we say yoga, it's simply people are referring to some, like how you say, some posture, some twisted body postures. So I think it's time that we start thinking about it, that is it really yoga or it's just an asana?
Yeah, asana or just an exercise or some gymnastics.
Yes.
Yeah.
It should not be called yoga, definitely.
Okay. So if you had to ban one yoga trend for the sake of humanity, which yoga trend would you ban? There's so much going on. Goat yoga, beer yoga, Instagram yoga.
So I would want no touching yoga. Don't touch yoga or something which makes it sound trendy or I don't know, that people can relate.
Okay. Has anyone ever asked you if yoga can help with their exam results, relationship problems, hair growth? And what was your reaction?
Yeah, definitely. Many people ask.
And what do you say?
So what I say and what I feel is that, see, whatever the problem they are telling or anybody is telling, it's mainly because the system is not balanced. So mainly whatever the problem that they are sharing, it's because the system has somehow gone out of balance. It's not in balance. That's why that problem is coming up. It may be manifesting in so many ways.
Yeah.
For some people, it may be, maybe migraine or backache or something. But essentially, something has gone off balance. So when we say classical Hatha Yoga or when we say, yoga in its purest form, then we are talking about such practices which can support you to bring that balance back. Once you achieve that kind of balance, anyway the problems continue, you can see the difference. And sometimes you may need medical interference also. So definitely the classical Hatha Yoga, it can support you to a large extent to bring your system to balance. But do not depend on some yoga practice entirely to cure your problem. See it for what it is.
Yeah. Don't look at yoga as a therapy or something.
Yes.
So now we will do a quick section now, which is called as myth busting about yoga. And we're calling this one as Yoga Mythbusters Darshini Edition.
Wow. Okay.
So the first one is the boring monk myth. Okay. People think that the moment you step into yoga or spirituality, your life becomes very beige and plain, and you instantly become this very boring person. You drink only hot water and just smiles very quietly, kind of thing. So tell us honestly, did life become boring for you, or did you actually become more alive?
Definitely far more alive and exuberant than I ever was. Yoga has brought me to a certain state within myself, without any involvement from outside. There is something going on within. So I'm far more open to new things, and the laughter is louder than ever before. And definitely, it's a complete myth that, okay, someone has to become a long-faced person. If it's real, classical way. If it's like that, no way. Definitely, you'll be becoming more exuberant and charged up all the time.
Yeah. Okay. So something similar, there is a myth like no joy myth. If you do yoga, there is no joy left in your life. You can't eat normal also. You can't be crazy. You can't wear great colors. You start wearing only plain white clothes kind of things. If not much music or desire, you don't listen to music as much, or you only start chanting kind of thing. You don't have much desire. So when you took this path, did you become very joyless?
No way. No. See, the thing is that when you start experiencing something within, there may be times when you want to be silent.
Correct.
When you want to, it's not you want to, you just naturally you are there, where you are withdrawn. That is one state. But again, when you are not there, you are outside living your life in a certain way. It's not that just because you are doing yoga, you will become a joyless person. Going through a certain state make you look a certain way, maybe for some period of time. But that is some state that they are in. Okay? It's not that yoga has taken joy out of them. It's a certain state that they are within themselves for now.
Thank you for busting that myth. So also there is this myth that which is called as financial zero myth. Means another classic assumption is if you choose yoga full time, your bank account immediately goes into Shavasana. It's dead. So for you, did switching from a corporate law coaching to, yoga teaching, did that make you very poor or rich in a way that people don't understand?
See, the thing is that the orientation of life sometimes changes. Okay. Then, for example, if I talk about myself, the orientation of my life was in a different way. Like how society goes on, you have to do certain things, you have to make money and everything, one thing after another. And since some meditation or something blossomed a bit within me, the orientation has changed. It's no more about the desire for me to make money. So, two things. First of all, no, my bank account is not zero. Bank balance is not zero. Secondly, there are multiple opportunities to make a living out of any situation. Okay. The only thing is that, are you motivated to do that, or are you oriented towards that, or no? For example, for me, if even if somebody says that, okay, you teach yoga there, it will pay you a lot of money. Unless I'm motivated enough to do that, or unless I find something there for me, it won't make sense to me, even if it's a lot of money. Okay, unless I feel it's something that is, touching people, or it's really needed, it won't motivate me, even if it's a lot of money. So there is a change in orientation. It's a very, different question and a very different answer to that. But if we see how the orientation changes, then it's very different how we look at it.
Thank you for sharing. So we are nearing the end of the podcast. Anyone watching this podcast, what would you like them to learn from you? If you had the choice and you would want one specific thing, then what it was?
So what I feel is that unless somebody is open, many doors might remain closed for them forever. So just a little bit of openness, if everyone can have. The doors are there waiting for them to be opened. So definitely, if just openness. Not to remain open to possibilities around, not to show yourself.
Right.
And like Sadhguru says, neither believe nor disbelief. Both will be closing up the opportunities for you. So you stay open. You find something meaningful, or you find it completely mundane, but you stay open to it. Experience. Try to have the experience of it. And then you decide. Okay? Don't believe in people, but stay open to it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Darshini. Akka, thank you. Thank you for sharing so openly. The turning points, the fire, the fun, the fearlessness, and the profoundness. Your story really proves that transformation is not something which is a theory or which is in the books or which is a fairy tale of Cinderella. It is really something that you have lived. It's not an imagination. It's a lived experience for you. So now through you are kind of rippling effect or passing on that transformation without you doing anything. It's just the way when I started noticing you and talking to you and interacting with you, So I hope this conversation nudges some more people towards the inner shift and the inner engineering that you also spoke. Thank you very much and hope to talk to you again. This was wonderful and thank you for honoring my first podcast.
Thank you so much, Pooja.
Namaskaram.
Namaskaram, Pooja. Thank you for having me.